job, Victor.
What is up, guys? Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to another episode of Wiz Kids Forever. Before I get too deep into this episode, you already know what I'm going to say. Be sure to comment, be sure to like, be sure to subscribe. On the road to 3,000 subscribers, and I can't do it without your help. So go ahead and hit that subscribe button, turn on your notification button so you're not missing any of this Wizards content. And without further ado, man, let's get into today's video. So your boy was on a holiday. Your boy was on a vacation, so I didn't get a chance to actually talk about some of the moves that the Washington Wizards have made over the last week. So we're gonna recap that and then talk about how our Washington Wizards front office is something that I'm not familiar with the front offices that I've grown up with, being with Ernie Grunfeld, Tommy Shepard, and those likes at the helm. But the Wizards are playing chess. The Wizards in 2025 are playing chess, while it seems like the majority of the league is playing checkers. I'm not going to say everybody, because Sam Presti, he's playing Sudoku or whatever, because he's a mastermind. Sam Presti might be able to solve a Rubik's Cube in about 30 seconds. But the Wizards, with some of, the proteges coming from that Sam Presti tree, they're playing chess. And one of the reasons that I say that is over the last couple of days, or on July 5th, the Wizards traded 2 future second-round picks for Houston Rockets forward, now Washington Wizards forward, Cam Whittmore. And it brings Cam Whittmore to D.C., a DMV native, a guy coming from Odenton, Maryland, playing with Archbishop Spalding. And I love the move. 6'7", 235-pound wing forward type that didn't necessarily get his shot to necessarily stick in the rotation in Houston. Now, while some of that, he's not of no fault, but you got to give a little bit of context in the Cam Whitmore situation. And if you're looking on the screen, if you're checking us out on YouTube, you see on the screen, it even says that the follow-up tweet from Shams, dropping his Shams bomb on the initial reporting of the Cam Whitmore trade. He said that the Rockets worked with Cam for the number 20 pick in the 2023 draft and his reps at WME basketball over the last few weeks on a new home. Whitmore has averaged over 11 points over 2 years, last season scoring 0.46 points per touch, 4th best among players to record 1,000 touches. So that tells you that the Rockets, while, Cam wasn't necessarily the fit for them in their future and in their plans, with them jumping into title contenders, with their rebuild being accelerated, it tells you that the Rockets don't think that Cam is a bad guy by any means, and they wanted to do what was best for Cam Whitmore. And bringing him back home to the DMV, I don't think of any situation that could be better. And let me tell you why in this episode. While he couldn't stick in Houston, like I just said, Houston, their rebuild had got accelerated to the point where they were just a part and the headliner in the 17 blockbuster deal that bought Kevin Durant to the Houston Rockets, his third team in 4 years. So that tells you that the Rockets are in win now mode, right? And for a guy like Cam Whitmore, who turns 21 today, we're doing this episode on July 8th, 2025. So happy birthday, Cam. Go buy Cam a drink. This is his first legal drink that he can get. So if you're checking this out over here, Wiz Kids, I might go ahead and cash app Cam first drink on the house, knowing me though, or knowing Cam and knowing how the NBA culture is. Cam probably passed out drunk somewhere, but I ain't gonna put no spell on any of our players' names. But happy birthday to Cam. But let's get back to the basketball. But Cam is a guy that just turned 21, and he didn't necessarily fit the timeline of the win now approach that the Houston Rockets are taking going into the 2025-26 season. And that's not necessarily all of Cam's fault, right? Because this is a guy, if we can remember, like a couple of years back, he was drafted in the draft that we selected Bilal Coulibaly in 2023. Some draft pundits had Cam Whitmore being selected before Bilal Coulibaly. Some draft pundits had Cam Whitmore being selected at the latest top 7. I don't even want to say top 10 because I didn't see him fall into the 10th pick in a lot of those mocks in 2023. So it was such a surprise to see him fall to the 20th pick come draft night. But then you heard a lot of the rumors and a lot of the reports as to some of the reasons why. And they have seemed to follow him over the course of his, first 2 seasons in the NBA. Some of those reports were like his head coach at Villanova didn't necessarily think that he was a leader or a team player. And he was, telling NBA, front offices that when they were checking in on Cam Whitmore, there were reports about him having a degenerative knee. I know there were that he broke his tibia as a freshman at Spalding or as a freshman in high school, but he didn't really, have, too many lower body injuries coming out of college. But who knows what those medical reports were checking out coming out of the combine and things of that nature. There were also reports of, or teams just didn't like the fact that he isn't a passer. Cam Whitmore is not a passer. Cam Whitmore is being brought in right now at the age of 21 to put the brown thing in the round thing, like Drew Gooden says. Now, that's not to say that he can develop into more, but the Houston Rockets didn't have time for him to do all of that development or to take time for all of that development. And the Wizards do. The Wizards do. Because what were we saying going into the draft when, we fell to the 6th pick? We were saying that we can't turn our nose up at anybody, right? Because we have to be taking the best player available approach. And I think that's what we did in selecting Trey Johnson. Well, that's what we have to do with, not only these free agent signings, but these trade acquisitions as well. We're at the state of the roster right now and the state of the organization is that we need to take as many swings on high upside talent as we can. And this is one of those moves. This is why I refer to the Wizards playing chess and the rest of the league playing checkers, because to get Cam Whitmore for 2 second-round picks is a steal in my book. And it should be a steal in yours as well. Because like I said, he isn't of a fault. He does get a little tunnel vision as a basketball player, but Shams lays it out in the tweet. This guy can score the basketball. And I know a lot of people have questioned his shot creation. I don't have any, qualms about his shot creation. I don't know where a lot of that came from. I don't know if it's because he doesn't, shoot a lot of has he pull up Jimbos, like, the fans want to see. But Cam Whitmore gets to the rim with reckless abandon. Cam Whitmore gets to the rim with reckless abandon. And I don't know if the shot that you create wants to be a pull-up jumper, but he's one of the most ferocious dunkers in the league. And I think that he can do that on his own. You see, he scores 4.46 points per touch, right? And he's not necessarily passing the ball. So when he is on the floor, he's on the floor to score. And that's something that the Wizards direly need. I told you, I still haven't found out how we were one of the fastest teams in pace last year. But in some of those games during our 16-game losing streak, we had a hard time cracking 90 points. I still have a hard time figuring that out. But bringing in a guy like Cam Whitmore, making it 9 first-round draft picks that we bought in since the 2023 draft, whether that be us drafting them or them being brought in through trades or things of that nature. It's a youth influx in Washington, and it's beautiful to see. It's beautiful to see. Now, I'm not going to say that we're going to be contenders. We're going to be ass once again this year. We are going to be ass once again this year. I don't want y'all to think that bringing in Cam Whitmore and CJ McCollum are going to jump us into playing contention like I see some of the national pundits saying. And that's okay, because we know that they don't watch Wizards basketball. We know the national media does not watch Wizards basketball. But if you guys don't know, our first-round pick next year in the 2026 draft is still top 8 protected, right? And what that means is that if we fall outside of the top 8 picks come lottery night, that pick turns over to the New York Knicks next year. And that would be too detrimental to our rebuild for us to try to compete for a fucking playing spot this year. That'll be too detrimental to the rebuild. And I know I'm saying that pick is top 8 protected, but the only way that you can secure you having that pick is by you having one of the bottom 4 rosters in the league next season. Because as we saw this year with the Wizards lottery luck, Wizards lottery luck, the worst that you can fall is, 4 slots under what your projected or what your final record was. So the Wizards had the second worst record in the league last year after the coin flip with the Utah Jazz. And they fell to the worst pick that they could have possibly got with the 6th overall pick in the 2025 draft. That's the way that the lottery odds work. So for us to secure a top 8 pick, that means we have to have a bottom 4 record next season. So that means that the tank is still on. The tank is still on. And while I'm talking about how high upside of a player that Cam Whittmore is, I fully think that with the green light, he's capable of scoring 20 points per game next season, depending on how many minutes he gets. Don't fool yourselves into thinking that we're going to be a competitive basketball team next season. I just want to compete more than we did this past season. I just want us to take a couple of steps in the rebuild because I am realistic over here, even though I'm getting a little grazed and I ain't got too much time to wait. Your boy turned 30 this year. I ain't got too much time to wait, Will Dawkins. So this is about the last season. I'm going to get y'all the Dawkins pass. I'm going to get y'all the Ernie Grunfeld and Tommy Shepard tax because them are like the tariffs that Donald Trump handing out. It's going to take a while for us to overcome from that deficit. You feel me? But Cam Whittmore to DC, just another string along the lines of the moves that Will Dawkins has made to rebuild this roster after not only Tommy Shepard but Bradley Beal left in their departure from DC. As I mentioned, though, Cam Whittmore, it's not like we're trading for some all-star. It's not like we're trading for some all-star, and Cam Whittmore isn't an all-star right now. But nobody outside of me, and I do have the tweets to prove it, thought that Shai Gilgeous-Alexander was going to be an NBA MVP when the Oklahoma City Thunder traded Paul George for Shai and a plethora of picks and things of that nature during the 2019 offseason. Nobody had Shai Gilgeous-Alexander being an MVP on their bingo card. So I say that to say a lot of times in these rebuilds, the superstars can come out of nowhere. They can develop. Nikola Jokic was a second-round pick. He got drafted during a Taco Bell commercial. Nobody projected him to be a 3-time MVP. Nobody. So we don't know where these superstars are going to come from. But Will Dawkins and Michael Winger taking as many swings at upside and at them retaining this superstar, you can't knock the move. You can't knock the move. You can't. And like I said, I don't know where the minutes are going to come from for Cam Whittmore because the Wizards have more wings than Buffalo right now. The Wizards have more wings than Buffalo. He's kind of leaving a situation as far as like roster makeup similar to the Houston Rockets, but we're not in, win now mode. We're not in contention mode. We're in the mode where come September when training camp comes, we're going to roll the ball out and tell them boys go compete. Go compete. I want to see some footage from training camp this year because with 9 first-round picks, nobody's entitled to any position outside of Alex Sarr. We know he's starting. But everybody else is going to be competing. I think Bud might have the green light as the lead guard to experiment with this season to see what we have in him as a potential, PG1 for the future, even though I have some skepticism about that I'll touch on in another episode. And I really will crash out if CJ McCollum is our starting one come October. But you can't, as I keep saying, you can't knock the moves. You can't knock the moves as taking as many swings as possible to get that superstar that we're in dire need of. Now, from the outside looking in, do we have that superstar on the roster right now? I don't know because I believe that I'm higher on Alex Sarr than a lot of people in the Wizards community and in the national media as well. And I think that Alex Sarr has superstar potential, but I'll be a fool to say that he doesn't have to make leaps and bounds of an improvement to get there. But I think he has a superstar skill set if he, reaches his ceiling. Cam Whittmore can be a 20-point per game scorer. Is that empty calories, though? Is that an empty stat sheet scorer? Somebody that doesn't necessarily contribute to winning, somewhat along the lines of like, who can we talk like Kevin Martin or J.R. Smith even got a ring. So I don't even want to put that smut on J.R. Smith, but early career J.R. Smith who could fill the the cup up, but wasn't necessarily contributing to winning cultures and things of that nature. Is Cam Whittmore going to be that type of player? Because as I mentioned, while Houston's in win now mode and things of that nature, and Cam isn't of no fault for the reason that he didn't ever crack the roster solidly, there has to be some context, right? I knew as soon as Cam Whitmore had requested or murmurs had started to come out about, his discomfort and, him being upset about his place in the rotation. And then I think it was even a video where they was highlighting him walking off the court against us this past season. I knew he was cooked. Y'all got to remember who his head coach is. His head coach is Ime Udoka. Ime Udoka is an asshole, y'all. Like, y'all know y'all come to Wiz Kids Forever for the most raw, uncut, and unfiltered analysis on your Washington Wizards. And I'm going to give you this. Ime Udoka is an asshole. Any man that can cheat on Nia Long in his mid-40s is a fucking asshole. That's a man that's never satisfied. That's a man that is never pleased. So I knew once Cam started talking smut on, his place on the roster, I knew that he was done. Didn't necessarily think that him coming to DMV was ever a possibility, but this is a guy that talked about, him growing up as a Wizards fan. I don't know if it was him or his dad posted a picture where he was getting his John Wall jersey signed from Marcin Gortat. So he's going to be uber motivated coming to DC to prove not only the Rockets, but to prove the rest of the league wrong, because this is a guy that's been doubted ever since he's been in the NBA, since draft night when he fell to that 20th overall pick. Now, he does have some defensive struggles. I've talked about his, tunnel vision at times, but these are all things that he can work on and develop with the green light that, we gave not only our rookies last year, but I think that we're going to give everybody on the roster 23 and younger this year. Now I'm talking about the rotations, and I don't even want to get too deep into the rotations because it'll make my brain hurt. It'll make it'll fry my brain, scramble my brain. Because as I mentioned, the Wizards got more wings than America's best right now. And Bilal, and Cam Whitmore, and a guy like Keyshawn George, Trey Johnson, Will Riley, Corey Kispert, Chris Middleton, Jameer Watkins, Dylan Jones. Like, you name it. I got, like, you get a wing. I feel like Oprah right now. Will Dawkins should feel like Oprah when talking about wings. And it's going to be interesting to see this rotation. And the reason that I say that is because I actually put a little feeler out there yesterday. When I was looking at the analysis of the wing position and the roster and the rotation when projecting how these guys are going to get time and things of that nature. And I said, am I crazy to think that the team might be projecting Bilal Coulibaly as a 4 from here on out, a Giannis Antetokounmpo career archetype? And I'm not. I'm still. I slept on it, and I still think that this might be in a realm, and this might be a possibility with all the wings on the roster. I know you've heard some people in the Wizards community say that we don't have a center, and they think that Alex Sarr is a 4. I personally think we don't have a 4, and I think that Alex Sarr is a center in 2025 basketball. And Bilal told everybody that listened last year that he was 6'9" in shoes last year, so he has more than enough height and length to play the 4 position in 2025 modern NBA basketball, because that's not necessarily even a small a ball 4 type. If you said in 2002 that you had a 6'9" power forward, like, they weren't calling you undersized back then, so that's more than enough for length. Don't know if he necessarily has the girth and the size, pause, no diddy, to play the 4 right now. But if we can remember Giannis in his first couple of years in Milwaukee, they were playing him at the shooting guard position. They were playing him at the small forward position until he finally got entrenched as that, like, whatever the fuck Giannis is, demigod type, stretch power forward, point power forward that he is today. Bilal had a lot of Giannis type comparisons coming out of the draft because people were going to say that he was going to grow, and the type of growth spurt that he had coming into, I think it was like the last 2 years prior to him coming out of the 2023 draft. So am I crazy to think that the team might be projecting Bilal as a 4 from here on out? Because one thing that this Cam Whitmore move did tell me is that Bilal might be on higher alert than I thought. And I'm not saying that like his job is in any danger or anything. And I've expressed that I think that I'm personally lower on Bilal than a lot of the fan base is. I think that they're super high and they want Bilal to be something that he's not right now because he was the first pick of the new regime. And I think that he has the potential to get to there and more. But Bilal didn't necessarily take the leap that I wanted to see offensively last year. He's still one of the better on-ball defenders. He's the best on-ball defender on the roster. And I think that he can still improve as an on-ball defender. But he has all the tools to be that point of attack defender. And I think that Bilal honestly can guard 1 through 4 if we're being if we're being quite honest. So if you filling out your roster with a bunch of wings that you're going to be switching and things like that, Bilal is the perfect candidate for that type of roster. But I think that, you know, with the drafting of Jameer Watkins, with the signing of a Cam Whittmore, you know, Will Dawkins and Michael Winger are putting Bilal on high alert. Like, bro, you're in an extension year. We're going to have to see a leap from you offensively if you want to be this long-term piece for the future that we projected you to be coming out of the 2023 draft. Because now you got somebody from your draft class on this roster as well that's been in the league the same amount of time as you. And we giving him the green light to potentially outplay you. And if he does, because he's going to be eligible for the extension as well. We just going to let the cards fall where they lay. And yeah, that's why I said the Wizards are playing chess right now while the majority of the league is still playing checkers. The last thing that I wanted to touch on before I ended this video is that the Wizards finally, feel like The Rock, they finally released their summer league rosters. They had that shit top secret like it was the Krabby Patty formula for a minute. I don't know what was going on. But they take place. The Vegas Summer Leagues take place next week, and they were one of the last teams to release their roster. And they're going to Vegas, all hands on deck. They're going to Vegas with a goddamn tank squad. I'm gonna say it right now. I fully expect the Washington Wizards to win the 2025 Las Vegas Summer League. When you send out Bub Carrington, when you send out Keyshawn George, AJ Johnson, Trey Johnson, Alex Sarr, Jameer Watkins, these are all guys that I fully expect to be in a rotation come February of 2026. Shit, there might be a starting 5 that head coach JJ, whatever his name is, there might be a starting 5 that he trots out in the summer league. There might be an actual starting 5 for us come December 23rd. And if that is the case, we should fully expect to compete for a championship in the Vegas Summer League. And I'm honestly not surprised that is the case with, you know, all the guys that played heavy rotational minutes like Keyshawn, like Bub Carrington, like Alex Sarr playing in the Summer League, because that's the approach that Will Dawkins learned under Sam Presti. And that's the approach that OKC has been taking. I know people comped it to, you know, when OKC won the Summer League title, was that 2022 or 23 when they had Chet and Jalen Williams that projected into them, you know, winning NBA title 3 years later. But OKC has been doing this since KD, Russ, and James Harden. All 3 of those guys played Summer League basketball in their second year, no matter the mark they made as rookies. And all 3 of those guys that I listed made more dynamic marks than any of the Wizards that I listed from last season. Even though I love our roster and I love our young guns, they weren't KD, Russell Westbrook, and James Harden entering year 2. So to see these guys build that chemistry over the course of the summer, and hopefully it can translate into the season, I'm super excited. I'm expecting to win it all. Alex Sarr better go for Summer League MVP. You know, they was bidding on Alex Sarr all last year when he had that 0-point performance. Everybody was asking if he was a bust. I ain't see those videos after he dropped 35 on Jokic head, but I'm quiet. I'm going to need him to drop 34 at some point in this Summer League because guess what? You got your point guard of the future that should be able to set the table for you. Keyshawn George, we've seen him clamp Giannis next year. And I'm super excited to see AJ Johnson. Because I got a hot take about AJ Johnson that I don't know if I'm willing to stand 10 toes down yet. Man, matter of fact, yeah, I'm going to say it, then I'm going to get out on the video. I think that while Bub Carrington is getting all this hype, and I love it for him, Baltimore bred, I want Bub to succeed, and I want him to succeed for the Wizards. I think AJ Johnson might potentially be the point guard 1 for the future for the Washington Wizards. And the reason that I say that, I'm not going to get too deep to it right now, is because I don't know if I love the fit of Trey Johnson and Bub Carrington backcourt, because that's a backcourt that's allergic to the paint. And one thing that AJ Johnson does get is rim pressure. But I'm getting too deep into, the weeds right now. We'll talk about that in another time. Check it out. Check us out. We're signing out. Excuse me. If you're listening to us on audio only platforms like Spotify or Apple Podcasts, please leave a rating, leave a review. That's how we finesse these algorithms, so that when you're searching anything Wiz Kids Forever, or anything Washington Wizards, Wiz Kids Forever is that #1 content hub that pops up in your search bar. As I said at the beginning of the video, if you're checking this out on YouTube, be sure to comment, be sure to like, be sure to subscribe. More Wizards content dropping in the future. Summer League up next. I'm excited to see what the boys do. I might do some Summer League reaction videos, because like I said, I expect the Wizards to go all the way. I'll check in on y'all on the next video. Peace.